There is something more dangerous than ignorance, and it is misplaced information in the wrong hands at the wrong time. Most people are not suffering from a lack of knowledge. They are suffering from the consequence of revealing knowledge to people who were never designed to carry it. Most people are not failing because they lack vision. They are failing because they announced the vision before it was ready to be seen. Most people are not stuck because opportunity has passed them. They are stuck because they showed the seed before it became the harvest, and someone came and uprooted it before it could grow. Let me submit to you that one of the most misunderstood principles of intelligent living is not what you know. It is what you choose to keep. The world has spent decades teaching people how to communicate, how to be open, how to be vulnerable, how to share their story, how to be transparent. And while there is a place for all of those things, no one has sat you down and told you the truth that some things are not meant to be shared ever. Not because you are secretive, not because you are dishonest, not because you are hiding something shameful, but because certain things carry power that is destroyed the moment they are exposed to unauthorized environments. You don't need motivation, you need revelation. And the revelation I want to place before you today is this: intelligence is not just the ability to acquire information, it is the discipline to manage what you do with it. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. And where discretion is not practiced, destruction is guaranteed. Let me show you what I mean. When a manufacturer builds a product, the most critical information about that product is never printed on the outside of the box. The formula, the composition, the proprietary process is kept internal. The reason competitors cannot duplicate certain products is not because they lack intelligence it is because the internal blueprint was never made public. The manufacturer understood that the power of the product lived in the privacy of its design. The moment you give your competitor your formula, you have handed them your future. You are a product of design, not accident. You came into this world with an internal blueprint, an assignment, a capacity, a specific set of gifts assembled for a specific purpose. And the dangerous thing about living without discretion is that you will hand your formula to people who will use it against you, not for you. This is not a lecture about trust. This is a teaching about architecture. How you are built determines what must remain internal. And an intelligent person, not a secretive person, not a cold person, not an antisocial person, but a genuinely intelligent person, has learned through pain, through betrayal, through costly experience, that there are 3 things you must never share with anyone. Not anyone. Not your closest companion. Not your longest friendship. Not the person who says they love you. Not the colleague who smiles every morning. Not the relative who came to your celebration. There are 3 things that belong exclusively to the interior of your life. And the moment you release them into the public, you forfeit the protection they were designed to give you. Let me take you to the first one. An intelligent person never shares their next move. Let me be precise about this. I am not saying never tell people your dreams. I am saying never tell people your next move. There is a difference between your destination and your direction. A destination is where you are going. A direction is how you are getting there. A destination is the vision. A direction is the strategy. And the strategy, the method. The next step, the specific action you are about to take, must remain unpublished until it has been executed. Here is the principle. Every unexecuted plan is a vulnerable plan. Consider the nature of seeds. A seed carries within it the genetic instruction for an entire tree, an entire forest, an entire ecosystem. The seed does not announce what it is becoming. It does not press through the soil and declare to the surrounding environment, I am about to become a tree. It works in silence, in darkness, in the hidden place beneath the ground. And the very hiddenness of that process is what protects its development. The moment you bring a seed out of the soil prematurely and expose it to full sunlight before the root system is established, you kill it. Not because the sun is evil, but because the timing was wrong and the exposure was unauthorized. Let me submit to you, your plans are seeds. And people's opinions, people's doubts, people's comparison, people's discouragement is sunlight on an unrooted seed. It does not mean the people are your enemies. It means the timing of the exposure is premature. And premature exposure destroys what patience would have protected. I want to tell you something about how intelligent people in history operated. Not the ones who made the most noise. Not the ones who announced the most. But the ones who actually built things that lasted. If you study the behavior of those who created systems that outlived them, you will find a consistent pattern. They were quiet about process and loud about product. They did not narrate the construction. They unveiled the building. They did not broadcast the struggle. they presented the result. The announcement came after the completion, not before the commencement. The reason most people never finish is because they told someone too early, and that someone said something that arrested their momentum, or worse, that someone affirmed them so fully that the affirmation satisfied the hunger that should have driven them to completion. There is a psychological phenomenon in human beings where the act of announcing a goal activates the same neurological reward as achieving it. When you tell someone what you are going to do, and they respond with excitement and validation, your brain receives a portion of the fulfillment before the work is done. And that partial fulfillment reduces the urgency to complete the work. You don't need motivation. You need revelation. And the revelation here is silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. An intelligent person has learned, usually through the pain of watching something collapse after they shared it too early, that the next move must be protected until it becomes the last move. Execute first, announce after. Now let me bring you to the second thing, and this one is perhaps the most misunderstood. An intelligent person never shares their personal struggles with everyone. Now, I want to be careful here because I am not teaching you emotional suppression. I am not telling you to carry your pain alone in silence and let it destroy you from the inside. That is not what I am saying. There is a proper channel for processing personal difficulty, and you must find it, use it, and protect yourself through it. But the proper channel is not the general public. It is not the group conversation. It is not the social platform. It is not the office corridor. And it is most certainly not the person who asked you how you are doing without actually wanting to know. Here is the principle. Your wound is not a testimony until it has become a scar. A wound is still in process. A wound is still bleeding, still raw, still vulnerable to infection. If you expose a wound, you do not get healing, you get contamination. People will touch the wound with dirty hands. They will give you infection disguised as advice. They will compare your wound to their wound, and now instead of healing, you are in a competition of suffering. Vulnerability in the wrong room is not courage, it is exposure. The scar, however, is different. The scar has been processed, healed, closed. The scar can be shown because the scar is no longer at risk. The scar cannot be reopened by someone's careless opinion because the scar has become tissue, has become history, has become evidence of a journey that is complete. When you share a scar, you offer someone else a map. When you share a wound, you only offer them an opportunity to confirm your worst fears about yourself. Let me tell you something about the nature of design. When a manufacturer is developing a new product, there is a stage called the prototype phase. In the prototype phase, the product is being tested, adjusted, corrected, refined. The manufacturer does not invite the public into the prototype phase. The prototype is not shown to the market because the prototype is not the final product. And if the public sees the prototype, they form a permanent opinion about the product based on an incomplete version. That opinion, once formed, it is almost impossible to reverse, even after the final version is released. You are in prototype phase for most of your life. You are being tested, adjusted, corrected, refined. And the reason you must keep certain struggles internal is because the public will form an opinion about the final version of you based on the prototype they saw. And some of those opinions will outlive the prototype. Some people will never be able to see who you have become because they saw who you were in the breaking, in the falling, in the failure, in the struggle. And they locked you into that image. An intelligent person understands the struggle is internal information. Not because they are ashamed of struggle, but because they understand that the revelation of struggle has a proper timing, a proper audience, a proper purpose. Sharing your struggle with the wrong person at the wrong time does not produce support. It produces surveillance. People begin to watch you, not to help you, but to see whether you collapse. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. And when you do not understand the purpose of discretion, you will abuse your own process by exposing it to unauthorized personnel. Now I want to give you something practical here. There is a difference between a confidant and an audience. A confidant is one, maybe two, maximum three people in your entire life who have earned the right H through consistent demonstrated behavior over time to know your internal reality. These are people who have shown, not claimed, not promised, but shown through how they handled previous confidences, through how they responded to your failure without abandoning you, through how they corrected you without condemning you, that they are equipped to carry what you share. An audience is everyone else, and the audience does not get your wound, they get your work. The audience does not get your struggle, they get your solution. The audience does not get your breakdown, they get your breakthrough. And the breakthrough is only powerful because you process the breakdown privately. Let me show you the third thing, and this one is the most costly to ignore. An intelligent person never shares their personal growth with people who are not growing. This one will cost you relationships. This one will change your circle. This one will feel lonely for a season. But the price of not understanding this principle is paying with your potential for the rest of your life. Here is the principle. Growth that is announced to a stagnant audience invites sabotage, not celebration. I want you to understand something about the psychology of exposure to change. When one person in a group begins to grow, something activates in the people around them. Not always malice, not always jealousy. Sometimes it is simply the mirror effect. Your growth, your discipline, your transformation functions as a mirror to people who are not growing. And it shows them something about themselves that they are not ready to see. And rather than deal with what the mirror is showing them, the easiest psychological response is to break the mirror, to discredit the growth, to mock the change, to find fault with the discipline, to call the ambition arrogance, to label the evolution as pride, to say you have changed, Dad, as though changing is a crime. Let me submit to you. Change is not just inevitable. It is the evidence of assignment. If you are the same person you were 3 years ago, something has gone wrong. Growth is not a luxury. Growth is the proof that you are functioning according to design. A tree that is not growing is a tree that is dying. There is no neutral position in a living organism. You are either expanding or contracting, developing or decaying, progressing or regressing. And when you begin to grow, you must protect that growth from environments that cannot sustain it. I want to use an analogy from the natural world. There is a species of bamboo that shows almost no visible growth above the surface for the first several years of its life. If you did not know what you were looking at, you would think nothing was happening. You would assume the seed had failed, that the soil was wrong, that the conditions were not favorable. But beneath the surface, for those years of apparent silence, the bamboo is developing the most extensive root system in the plant kingdom. It is going deep before it goes high. And when the root system is ready, when the foundation is sufficient to sustain what is coming, the bamboo erupts from the ground at a rate that is almost impossible to believe, growing sometimes several feet in a single day. Your growth process is sometimes the bamboo. There are seasons where what is happening in you is not visible, is not measurable, is not impressive to the outside eye. And the people around you who cannot see what is developing below the surface will tell you that nothing is happening. They will offer you shortcuts, will question your patience, will compare you to people who appear to be growing faster than you. And if you share your internal growth process with them, if you open the soil and show them the root system that is not yet ready to support exposure, they will either dismiss it or disturb it. An intelligent person grows in silence and presents the harvest. Now, I want to interrupt myself here because I need to speak directly to something. There is a generation of people who have confused transparency with wisdom. They have been told that openness is maturity, that sharing is strength, that vulnerability is the mark of an evolved person. And while there is truth woven into those ideas, they have been applied without discretion, and the cost has been devastating. People are sharing their unfinished chapters with audiences who are not equipped to hold them. And they are experiencing rejection and confusion and embarrassment and betrayal and calling it a trust issue when the real issue is a discernment issue. You did not fail because you trusted people. You failed because you trusted the wrong people with the wrong information at the wrong time. And the solution is not to become cold, not to become closed, not to become inaccessible. The solution is to develop the intelligence to know what belongs in public and what belongs in private, what is ready for exposure and what is still in development, what serves others by being shared, and what serves only your ego. Let me submit to you, discretion is not a defense mechanism, it is a design principle. A government that announces its military strategy to the public has already lost the war. A business that publishes its competitive formula in the market has already invited its own displacement. A builder who broadcasts the structural weaknesses of the building under construction has already compromised the foundation, not because secrecy is noble, but because intelligent management of information is the difference between building something that stands and watching something collapse. You are a building. You are an architecture. You are a structure being assembled for a specific assignment. And not everything about the construction needs to be narrated while it is happening. Now let me show you how to actually practice what we have been establishing. Because revelation without application is entertainment, and I am not here to entertain you. I am here to equip you. The first practice is this. Before you speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Who is this person? What is their track record with sensitive information? And what is the best possible outcome of me sharing this? Who is this person means? Have you observed this person over time? Or are you making a decision based on a feeling in the moment? Feelings are not intelligence. Feelings are chemistry. Intelligence is observation over time. Who is this person based on evidence, not on impression? What is their track record means when this person received sensitive information in the past? What did they do with it? Did they protect it? Or did it resurface in a conversation where you were being evaluated? Did they hold it carefully, or did it become gossip dressed as concern? Track record is the only reliable data point you have about a person's character, not what they say they will do, but what they have already done. What is the best possible outcome means if this person receives this information and does everything right with it, what changes for me? Is there a genuine benefit to sharing this? Or am I sharing it because I am uncomfortable holding it alone and I need someone to carry it with me? Discomfort is not a reason to release private information. Discipline is the capacity to hold what you are assigned to hold until the proper time. The second practice is to create a processing system that does not involve other people. This means journaling, reflection, extended periods of solitude where you sit with your own thoughts and allow the internal architecture to process information without the interference of outside voices. Most people do not know what they actually think because they have never been alone long enough to find out. They move from conversation to conversation, from distraction to distraction, and they process everything publicly, which means they are always being shaped by other people's interpretations of their experience rather than developing their own understanding. An intelligent person creates private space for processing, not because they are antisocial, but because they understand that clarity is an internal product, not a public achievement. You cannot think clearly in a crowd. You cannot hear your own assignment when everyone around you is broadcasting their opinions. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is the environment in which real intelligence is cultivated. The third practice is to develop what I will call layered trust. Not everyone gets the same level of access. Some people get your public life, your work, your results, your contribution. Some people get your opinions and your values. A very small number of people, if any, get your process, your struggle, your next move, your personal growth. And the layers are not assigned by how long you have known someone or by the warmth of your feeling toward them. They are assigned by demonstrated evidence of capacity and character over time. Layered trust means you do not upgrade someone's access until they have consistently honored the access level they currently have. You do not give someone your wound before they have proven they can handle your surface. You do not share your next move before they have demonstrated they can keep information. You do not share your growth before they have shown that they celebrate growth rather than fear it. Let me bring you to the activation phase, because information without activation is just knowledge, and knowledge without execution remains theory. I want to speak to you as someone who understands the cost of getting this wrong. There is pain in oversharing, a specific kind of pain that comes when you gave someone access to something that was sacred, and they handled it carelessly. There is the memory of the moment you told someone your plan A, and they responded with a reason it would not work, and something died in you in that moment. Not because they were necessarily wrong, but because your faith was not yet strong enough to survive their doubt, and you needed the silence of private development to build that strength. There is the memory of sharing your struggle with someone who used your vulnerability as a data point in a future argument. There is the memory of announcing your growth or your changes, S, your new direction, to people who responded with suspicion and sarcasm because your change was a disruption to their comfort. And if you carry those memories, I want to tell you something. The failure was not in you. The failure was in the application of an unlearned principle. You did not know that next moves are seeds that must be protected. You did not know that wounds are not testimonies yet. You did not know that growth must be guarded from stagnant environments. You did not know. And that is not condemnation. That is education, because now you know. And from this moment forward, the application of what you know is your responsibility. You are not a broken person who shared too much. You are an intelligent person who lacked a principle, and now you have the principle. What you do with it from here determines everything. Let me speak to the area of your assignment. Because this teaching is not just about personal protection. It is about protecting your purpose. Every person on this earth arrived with an assignment. Not a career, an assignment. A career is what you do to survive. An assignment is what you were designed to accomplish. And your assignment has enemies. Not always personal enemies, but environmental enemies, systemic enemies, the enemy of distraction, the enemy of wrong counsel, the enemy of premature exposure, the enemy of unauthorized access to sacred territory. When you share your next move prematurely, you give your assignment's enemy the map. When you share your struggle with the wrong person, you give your assignment's enemy the ammunition. When you share your growth with someone who cannot handle it, you give your assignment's enemy the opportunity to discourage the very process that is building you for what you were designed to do. An intelligent person understands. Protecting information is protecting assignment. It is not about being closed. It is about being strategic. It is not about being private out of pride. It is about being private out of wisdom. There is a difference between a person who guards their life because they are afraid of people and a person who guards their life because they understand the value of what they are carrying. You are carrying something valuable. The fact that you have not yet seen the full value of it does not reduce the value. The fact that no one around you has recognized it does not reduce it. The value of what you carry is determined by the manufacturer, not by the market. And the manufacturer by design. Placed in you something that this world needs. And you are not built to waste it by exposing it carelessly. Let me speak to time. Because time is the one resource you cannot recover. Every moment you spend explaining yourself to people who have not earned the right to evaluate you is a moment you did not invest in the work. Every moment you spend defending your next move to people who cannot see what you see is a moment you did not spend executing the move. Every moment you spend sharing your struggle in environments that cannot hold it is a moment you did not spend processing it in environments that can. Time is the most non-renewable resource a human being possesses. And an intelligent person is not just selective about information, they are selective about where their time goes. Because time and information are both forms of investment, and unintelligent investment produces deficit, not growth. I want to give you a decision point here. This is the moment where the speech either becomes a memory or becomes a migration. A migration is a permanent movement. It is the point at which you do not go back to the previous pattern. Because the cost of the previous pattern is now clear, and I want to make the cost clear. The cost of sharing your next move with the wrong person is the move. The cost of sharing your struggle with an unqualified audience is the narrative. The cost of sharing your growth with people who cannot celebrate it is the momentum. And the cost of not sharing these things, of keeping them internal until they are ready, until they are executed, until they are complete, is a process that feels lonely, that feels misunderstood, that sometimes feels arrogant to others, but produces something that premature exposure never can. It produces a finished product. It produces a completed assignment. It produces a life that does not just start well, but finishes well. Now let me give you the specific behaviors, the daily practices that an intelligent person adopts as permanent operating standards. Starting today, you will develop the habit of sitting with new information for at least 24 hours before sharing it. When something excites you, a new idea, a new direction, a new opportunity, you will not immediately broadcast it. You will hold it for 24 hours. You will let it settle. You will ask yourself whether the excitement you feel is wisdom or emotion. Wisdom is stable. After 24 hours, emotion usually changes. And if after 24 hours you still have clarity and conviction, then you will evaluate who, if anyone, needs to know. Starting today, you will audit the people in your life based on track record, not feeling. You will ask yourself, have the people who know my sensitive information protected it? Have the people I have shared my struggles with responded with equipping or with judgment? Have the people I have told about my growth encouraged the process or questioned the change? And based on the honest answer to those questions, you will reorganize the access levels in your life. Not with drama, not with announcement, but with quiet administrative precision. Some people will simply receive less access going forward, not because they are bad people, but because they have shown you the level of access that is appropriate for them. Starting today, you will invest in solitude as a practice, not as a punishment. The person who cannot be alone cannot hear themselves. The person who cannot be alone is always shaped by the loudest voice in the room rather than the truest voice within. Solitude is the laboratory of intelligence. It is where you discover what you actually think, what you actually believe, what direction is actually yours, rather than borrow from the environment around you. Give yourself minimum 30 minutes per day in genuine solitude with no input, no screens, no voices, just the internal architecture processing. Some of the clearest decisions of your life will emerge not from advice, not from counsel, not from conversation, but from the quiet that you have been avoiding because it is uncomfortable. The discomfort of solitude is the discomfort of meeting yourself, and an intelligent person has made peace with that meeting. I want to close by speaking to the design of your life, because everything I have said is ultimately about honoring the design. You were not built for everyone. You were built for your assignment. And your assignment has a specific set of requirements, a specific environment, a specific set of relationships, a specific process that cannot be discovered in the crowd, but only in the quiet of intelligent, disciplined, discerning living. The blueprint for your life is internal, and it speaks most clearly when you have created the conditions for it to be heard. Pain has been part of your process. Let me tell you something about pain, because I want to reframe something you may have misunderstood. Pain is not evidence that you are off track. Pain is often the most reliable evidence that you are in the process of being refined for something that requires greater capacity than you currently have. A product that is being refined is a product that has value worth refining. No one refines garbage. No one subjects something worthless to the heat of transformation. The very fact that your life has encountered difficulty, opposition, resistance, betrayal, loss is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of assignment. The refining is producing in you wisdom you did not have before. Discernment you could not have developed without the experience. Strength that theory alone could never build. And the very character that your assignment requires in the person who is going to execute it. Where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable. But where purpose is understood, process is welcomed. And when you understand that the pain you have experienced is part of the architecture of the person you are becoming, you stop asking why it happened, and you start asking what it is producing. Let me submit to you, the most dangerous thing about an intelligent person is not what they know. It is what they have chosen not to reveal. It is the discipline that keeps the seed in the ground until the root is ready. It is the wisdom that holds the wound until it becomes a scar. It is the strategic silence that guards the growth until the harvest is ready to be presented. That discipline, that wisdom, that silence is not a limitation. It is a weapon. It is the advantage that most people surrender in the first conversation because they do not understand the value of what they are holding. You are not a person who simply exists. You are a person who was designed with intention, assembled with precision, and released into this world with something specific to accomplish. And the protection of that assignment begins with the intelligence to know what to keep, when to keep it, and who has earned the right to be trusted with what you are carrying. Do not announce, build. Do not broadcast, execute. Do not expose the wound. Develop the scar. Do not share the growth with those who cannot grow. Find the environment that can sustain what you are becoming. Guard your next move like the seed that knows its own timing. Guard your struggle like the prototype that is not yet the final product. Guard your growth like the bamboo that builds the root before it shows the height. You were not built to impress people with your process. You were built to complete your assignment. And the completion of your assignment requires a level of intelligence, a level of discipline, a level of strategic discretion that most of the world will never understand. And that is precisely the point. What they do not understand, they cannot interrupt. What they cannot interrupt, you can finish. And when you finish what you were designed to do, the evidence will speak for itself. Not because you need them to understand the journey, but because the destination will be undeniable. Be original, not a copy. Guard what is sacred. Execute before you announce. Process before you publish. And when the harvest is ready, present it without apology, without explanation, and without the need for validation from the same people who doubted the seed. The time is now, and the work is yours. Die empty.